Hi, this is Chapter 7. We're going to talk about the analyzing the agreement of purchase and sale. So, the agreement of purchase and sale, or your Form 100, is widely used in Ontario marketplace and is used for instructional purpose here as well. The residential offer is viewed in detail following, and there is a decision in the agreement of purchase and sale and agreement of sale. So agreement of purchase and sale is intended for residential resale properties only, not including resale condominium and cooperatives. So there are other forms like Form 101 and 102. Audio Form 101 is for resale condominium and Audio Form 102 is for cooperatives. And also there's a Form 400 for agreement to lease for the residential one. With regards to agreement of purchase and sale and agreement of sale, so agreement of purchase and sale should be used for residential resale, while the agreement of sale is an agreement for the purchase of real estate property, wherein the seller retains the right to the property while permitting the buyer to occupy the premises without becoming the owner. Unlike the agreement of purchase and sale, the title is not conveyed until some future stipulated date or a future event. For example, the payment for the property is made in full when sufficient payment is made to pay the difference between the price and the existing mortgage, when the buyer has built up sufficient down payment and the seller feels comfortable in taking back a mortgage on the property. Until one of these events occur, the buyer is said to have a contractual interest in the property. If the payment default occurs, buyer immediately relinquish any right on the property. The sale has no need to foreclose. The title still rests with the individual. No standard form exists for the agreement of sale to be used by registrant in Ontario, but the forms are provided by other legal publishers. An agreement of sale is infrequently used, but could be viewed as a financial alternative for a buyer with limited down payment when the seller is seeking the best possible security. Coming back to the agreement of purchase and sale, so let's go by each of the lines here. The agreement structure is essentially divided into five or six parts. The first is the contract details. Then there are pre-printed clauses. Um, Again, the pre-printed clauses are from page 2 to page 4, and then page 5 has signatures, confirmations, and acknowledgement, and page 6 is the Schedule A. So again, to rephrase, the agreement structure is has the contract details on page 1, and again the contract details are required to come are essentially buyer and seller real estate property, the purchase price, deposits, and identification of schedules. And then there's pre-printed clauses. Those are from page 2 to page 4. And then there's a signature, confirmation, and acknowledgement. It's page 5. And then there's Schedule A, which is page 6. Let's go over them one by one. So page 1, regarding the buyer and seller lines. This agreement of purchase and sale dated this day of the month and the year. The buyer, so in the case of buyer and seller lines, individuals must be clearly identified as buyers and sellers. Their full legal names have to be provided. If more than one buyer, then treat each person individually or each party individually. So in case of let's say John William Smith and Mary Jane Smith, we cannot use Mr. and Mrs. John Smith. It has to be John William and Mary William Smith. So Essentially, it has to be the full legal names. Again, it's important to confirm the ownership details. The transfer or deed of land provides ownership information and confirms legal description, including any limitation of ownership extent. In case of corporation, it should be the confirm and insert the full corporate name. And appropriate officers must be identified, and the corporate seal has to be used. Um, so in the case of seal, individuals can sign, but it should include I or we have the authority to bind the corporation. Again, minors, age of majority is 18 in Ontario. So only if an individual is a minor, he cannot sign any contract. Non-owner, um, in case of non-owners, for example, like state trustee, or, or often referred to as executors or administrators. So essentially, executors are the uh, one appointed by court, and administrators are if they have a will. So essentially, state trustee without a will is the administrator, or state trustee with a will is called as an executor. To ensure the validity, the agent should insist that all state trustees sign and should seek a notarized copy of the probate document. An individual may have the power of attorney to act on the behalf of another in the real estate transaction. In those cases, legal advice is strongly recommended. Partners, fully identify and obtain signature of all the partners. Spouses, both owner spouses must sign if the title is held jointly, like the joint tenancy. If one spouse holds the title and the property is matrimonial home, then the non-owner spouse signs the spousal consent. So, just to reiterate, spousal consent is required if one owner holds the title and and it is a matrimonial home. Um, in case of state sales, registers require confirming evidence that the person signing on the behalf of the state has express authority to do so. Coming to the uh, next part, which is the real property, the identification of the real property must be accurate and easily distinguish the property from others. No standard form can possibly contemplate all possible descriptions, but in the case of address, it should be full civic address. For example, 1271 Main Street, or 20371 Leslie Street, and so on. Ontario rural areas have adopted the 911 address program to more accurately identify remote locations if lacking specific information, include mailing address and other details. The other part of real property is called as fronting on. So include like north, west, east, or south as applicable, along with the street name. So address 1271 Main Street, fronting on north side of um, ABC Street, right? Frontage and depth. precise imperial measurements precise imperial or metric measurements are required. The pre-printed word more or less are intended for minor discrepancies only and should not be relied on. Confirm those using source document. Include an up-to-date date survey if possible for irregular shape properties or when confusion might arise. If appropriate, attach the survey as a schedule. The idea is we should not be relying on more or less, because these are intended for minor discrepancies only. Legal description. The complete legal description is required as found in the valid source document. So insert any easement or for example, there could be a mutual driveway, you know, a separate acknowledgement of major easement should be included in the agreement. So even though you might mention the acknowledgement, you might mention the easement here, a separate acknowledgement of easement is required. Purchase price, amount. The purchase price represents the total money that the seller is to receive in return for transferring the title on the completion date. Insert wording numbers for the purchase price and the deposit. So it has to be both the numbers and in the words, like dollars, $100,000 and $100,000 in words as well. Acreage or frontage. If the sale price is based on an acreage calculation, for example, $5,300 per acre, make certain that the actual acreage is stated in as part of the description. If working acres are involved, such as a cash crop farm, where the price might be established by working acres, include both total acreage and the working acreage. So, so again, to recap, the purchase price can be an amount or can be based on an acreage or frontage. For in the case of acreage, you can use the working acreage as well. In case of normally in the case of cash crops, or the unit price. In some instances, the purchase price for a vacant lot can be established based on the price per front foot. So the purchase price is stated as $XX point XX per front foot with appropriate offer clause regarding obtaining a survey. Deposit. Deposit holder. The deposit is typically held by the listing brokerage. If circumstances vary, buyer requests that the selling brokerage or lawyer hold the deposit. Seek guidance from your broker, record, or manager. Listeners should note that new homes covered by Trillion Warranty Corporation have special deposit protection. Uh, Especially for the new homes, there's a Terrain warranty, which has a special deposit protection rules. Additional or multiple deposit. If initial deposit is inserted in page 1 with subsequent deposit description on Schedule A. Brokerage policies consider interest on deposits and handling of settlement deposit may vary. No minimum deposit requirement exists. As such, funds are a sign of a good faith, but 5% is recommended. depositing fund. Um, the, the, the REBA 2002 requires that money is received be deposited in your trust account within into the real estate trust account within 5 days. In 5 business days. Wordings provide that no interest is paid for funds held in trust. If the arrangement is otherwise, an appropriate clause should be inserted in the Schedule A. There is no interest. No interest. Return on deposit, a mutual release is required for both parties to uh, for the deposit to be released by the brokerage following acceptance. Receipt of funds or identification. Registrants are required under the federal proceed process of crime activity and money laundering to prepare receive a fund form for money received. Going to the Schedule A, offer price and conditions and other miscellaneous clauses are inserted on the Schedule A. Now coming to the next part, which is clause 1, which is irrevocability. The offer shall be irrevocable by the buyer until 8 p.m. on the 10th day of Friday, 2015. The clause 2 is the completion date. The printed form provides the completion date no later than 6 p.m. with the completion date inserted by the salesperson. So completion date is always 6 p.m. Completion date is always is no later than 6 p.m. Ensure that the date does not fall on Saturday or Sunday or any other legal day, legal holiday. Initials. Buyers and sellers are required to initial at the bottom of the page on every page. Clause 3 is notices. Listing brokerage. The listing brokerage is provided authority to give and receive return notice on the seller's behalf. And the cooperating brokerage similar authority is granted to the cooperating brokerage which represents the buyer. Notices are deemed to be given and received when delivered to the address of for service or transmitted electronically or the fax numbers. Chattels included and fixtures excluded. Be specific. Include identifying characteristics with the name. For example, easy wash, cyclone washer, serial number this. Fixtures excluded. Be specific. Avoid troublesome chattels or fixture debate by discussing all relevant items, including built-in with the seller on room-by-room basis. Problem arise more from confusion and incompleteness of documentation than from wrongful intent. Be particularly cautious with significant chattels or fixtures, inclusions and exclusions, large declaration property sales with furnishing, appliances and equipment and education items. The built-in appliances and furnitures or items can cause problems if not addressed properly. When a built-in may fulfill the legal obligation of a fixture, seller may be under the impression that certain items will be removed at the closing due to the emotional attachment. Rental items. Check with the seller regarding the assumability of rental equipments. Clause 6 only applies to assumable rental contracts. Be specific. Clause 7 is HST. There are two options: included in and in addition to. Most essential resale transactions do not attract HST. So, however, inserting the phrase included in puts a risk on the seller to pay the HST should the property be subjected to a HST. In addition to, uh, places the onus on the buyer. Initial buyers and sellers initial are required at the bottom of the page. And the page 3, there's a mention of title search. Allow sufficient time for title search. Time period should extend beyond any condition inserted in the agreement. Root of title issues and matter of title must be reported by the legal counsel within the requisition period. Root of title objections relate to fundamental title issues like seller is unable to transfer title as the previous severance did not comply with the Planning Act, or the former owner had not signed off, thereby potentially nullifying the current seller's right to own. Matters of title involve issues that the seller cannot resolve, like right of way granted to another party or register on title. Statutory provisions exist to address title problems through the court. For example, seller law is responding to requisition, but the buyer law is not satisfied with that response. Resolution of title objection goes beyond the scope of here. Other searches: 30-day past the requisition date on which the offer conditions are fulfilled or waived, or 5 days prior to completion. So additional time is given for other searches regarding the work order, or deficiency notices, or continuation of present rule. So there are two time frames which are provided for the other searches. One is 30 days past the requisition date, or 5 days before completion. Present use: insert the present use, but do not include insert zoning. Um, Now the clause 9 is the future use. Um, so the, the other part of clause 8 is as I mentioned, is a present use. So you can say, for example, single family residential, but do not include the zoning. Or the other option is, if it's like left blank, that means that the pre-printed wordings provide that its present use may be lawfully continued. Clause 9 is a future use. If intended future use is different than the specified under clause 8, a condition is typically inserted to protect the buyer. Buyers seeking to expand the use beyond the single family. Clause 10 is the title. The buyer is assured that title is in good and free from restriction charges, lien, or encumbrances. So essentially, the buyer needs to be ensured that the title is good and it's free from restrictions, charges, liens, and encumbrances. So regarding the title issues from a salesperson perspective, it's important that the source documents, seller information sheet, buyer plans, or users should be made aware. Title acceptance: the buyer is deemed to accept the title, save and except for certain valid objections. Title insurance: the pre-printed wordings provide that the insurance can be obtained to remove, remedy, or satisfy any objection. The term insurance in the clause title specifically exclude fire insurance, which may always be obtained by the buyer. Title insurance, as discussed more. Clause 11 is the closing arrangement. Clause 12 is the document and discharge. Clause 13 is regarding the inspection. Opportunity to inspect only. Opportunity for property inspection. Clause 13 is limited in scope. The wording confirms that the buyer has had the opportunity to inspect the property, including observing any patent defect. The seller provides an opportunity to inspect, but nothing more. Proponent of this wording argue that the lack of further inspection avoids any subsequent negotiation with the buyer or request for repairs or any associated problems. Opportunity for property inspection reports. Home inspections are commonplace in today's marketplace. Recently, a bolded statement was added to clause 13 for confirming that the buyer had the opportunity to include a requirement for home inspection report within the agreement. Clause 14, insurance. Clause 15 is a planning act. Clause 16 is a document preparation. Clause 17 is a residency. This clause is directed at non-resident sellers. Disposing of a candidate property tax calculation is based on the capital gain realized. It's the buyer's responsibility. So essentially, it's the buyer's responsibility for the income tax. Clause 18 is the adjustment. Clause 19 is the property assessment. Clause 20 is the time limits. Clause 21 is about tender, but tendering. Tendering is an unconditional offer to perform, as in the buyer or seller tendering regarding real estate agreement by presenting the necessary document and funds at the land register office on the date set for the completion. By tendering the required document and funds, the party confirms that he or she is ready. Both buyers and sellers have the option to tender on the day set for completion should the unresolved close liability arise. Tendering involves one of the contract parties involving offering and putting an unconditional offer to perform what was agreed upon, even if the other party will not close. Money may be tendered by the bank draft or cashier's certified check drawn on the lawyer's trust account. If the documents or funds are tendered by one party and the party refuses to close for the unnecessary reason, the party tendering is then in a position to seek remedies under the breach of contract, including rescission, damages, quantum merit, performance, and an injunction. So essentially, if the party tendering it is in a position to seek remedies for the breach of contract. Family Law Act. Clause 23 is UFI. 24 is legal counting an environmental account. Clause 25 is the consumer report. Clause 26 is the agreement in writing. Clause 27 is time and date and then initials. Coming to Schedule A. Schedule A talks about the additional to the schedule attached to the agreement of purchase and sale, and talks about the buyers and sellers again. You insert the full name. And then there's the initials. In case of agreement of purchase and sale for commercial, it's pretty much there's a notion of HST in addition to the purchase price. On the inspection, the wordings are deleted. Essentially, the inspection is shorter than the essential version, and the other item with the commercial contract is a legal, accounting, and environmental advice. So just must ensure that this clause is discussed during during negotiations and prior to signing. So in case of commercial, the clause states that it's recommended that the parties to the agreement to obtain independent professional service, advice prior to signing due to the typical complex nature of the commercial transaction. That's all. Thanks.